I am very, very glad that you stopped by. Thank you very much. It is an honor. You know, what we do as television or film crews is we go out there and get as much content as possible, which then we edit into a concise story. Now, the injustice that happens through that process to the viewer and to the story is that there's a lot of beautiful things that we encounter out there while we collect the content, which then is left out when we are editing. And so I decided that through a series of videos, I will be sharing all the interesting stuff, the lessons that we have learned from people that do not get to the final story that is put out there on television or on YouTube, which then you get to watch. Over the past month, we have been doing a documentary for one of our clients. And the people that we have been interacting with have been sex workers, male and female, and people who inject drugs. The first lesson that I want to share is on mind power. So one night in Mtwapa. Mtwapa is in the north coast of Kenya and is the sin city of that side of the country. So one night in Mtwapa, I'm interacting with several sex workers that, were subjects of our film. And then one of them tells me, you're not just going to interview us, we should also do business. And I said, what do you mean? Of course, I knew what she meant. She told me, look, don't think about it. Let's have sex. I laughed it off. We had drinks, we continued working, and then later on went to the hotel. The following day, we went to the south coast where we met a gentleman by the name Ngoni Said. Ngoni Said was an addict of heroin. He was injecting heroin for 18 years, but is now is no longer using drugs now. He's no longer using heroin today. And as we interviewed him, he was taking us through his story. At one point, he told us how he went through the government MAT program, which is Medically Assisted Therapy program offered by the government of Kenya through various institutions across the country. And he went through MAT for 3 months and then he dropped. I mean, there are people who are in that program for 2 years now and still going strong. And so when I asked Ngoni, how did you stop using methadone after just 3 months? He told me he was tired of using drugs and he felt like, methadone was just another form of slavery. Not any different from what he had with heroin. And so he was tired. He wanted his life to change. And so one morning, he told himself, listen, Ngoni, you are going to stop using methadone and you have stopped using heroin. And if that will make you die, then today you will die. And a shift happened in his mind the moment he told himself that. Day 3, we go back to the North Coast and we meet a lady whose story you may have read in the newspapers. Her name is Naima Said, who was also an addict, injected heroin and used cocaine for 8 years. And at some point, she was taken to prison before she stopped using these drugs. And during that time, she never used drugs and she stayed in prison for 1 year. And on her first day after prison, she used drugs. And I asked her how 1 year without using drugs did not help her. Her answer helped me to reflect through the past 2 days and the past 2 subjects that I had interviewed. She said, the battle has to be won in the mind. And all the while that I was in prison, I was telling myself, I can't wait for the day when I'll be out here to smoke again, to inject again. And so she said, in my mind, I had not won. And so I was able to think backwards and said, mind for Naima, mind for Ngoni, and don't think about it. for that sex worker that had wanted to have me as her client for the night. What am I saying? I think if we are going to do something, a major shift in our lives, and there are better people to talk about this than me. I'm only sharing a lesson that I learned from people that I interviewed. If we are going to make a major shift, then it has to begin with our minds. If it fails in our minds, it fails everywhere else. And I think that is why the Bible, which I believe says in the book of Romans, chapter 12 and verse 2, that do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, 3 words stand out for me in this verse. The first being do not conform. The first being conform. The second is transform. And the third is mind, which is being renewed. What does it mean to conform? To conform is to be similar to a form or to a type. It also means to behave according to set standards or socially acceptable conventions or behaviors. To be the same. To be like everybody else. What does it mean to transform? To transform is to change dramatically. Dramatic change or a thorough change. And that is what we want. Everybody is looking for phenomenal change, phenomenal growth. Everybody that I know that is around me wants to be the hero of their sector or the hero or the master of their industry. Now we are told that that is not going to happen until your mind is renewed. I'd like to see you again here on this channel and share with you more lessons that we learn from the people that we interview and the amazing places that we visit. See you again next time.